Hi there, and welcome to GM Tips, Part 2 of Beginning GMs and DMs. So, we hit the things so far we need to know. Number 1, understanding a round or a turn, and all the things involved with it, and understanding what takes up what portion of that turn or round. The second one we talked about is beginning things for a GM that I think are really important. So, number 1 I said was not basically being unprepared going into a module. If you're going to do a module like this, all right, you got to read through it a couple times and take notes. And don't be over copious in your notes. Just take a page or two. Some key things that are important for you to remember about monsters and different things that are going on in the combat. So like their subtype. What does that involve? What kind of things are involved with that? Because, again, monsters, depending on the system with the monster manual or the monster guide or the bestiary, they're going to have certain things about them that are key things that you're going to want to know. So keep that in mind. Yeah, my tattoo show's great. All right, well, hey, it's all fun and games. Not that you guys mind. So what else does a beginning GM and DM need to know? How to calculate experience points is important. So you finish a combat. How do you calculate experience points? Most of your guides have that, and you divide it. You can do one of two ways. You take the overall experience for the monsters, add them up, and divide them by the number of characters. Okay, each character does not get that experience for that monster. So in here, I love the experience table. So I'm going to find the experience table in here to show you, because Pathfinder does a real good job of this, and they also put this into the GM screen. So it's important that you have all these kind of things. But, okay, so I love this. The rewards continuum. I think this is important no matter your system. All right? So what is it saying? There's several ways that you can reward your players. For experienced players, you can do a bundled reward. For short sessions, story-focused players, characterization-focused players, or PCs pivotal to sweeping events, you can do a bundled reward to them. Frequent rewards are to new players, long sessions, combat-focused players, power-focused players, or PCs as scroungers, traders, and crafters. You want to be able to either unbundle it or give little frequent rewards. So what does that mean? Okay, so your player does a skill check, okay? So say you tell them, all right, you've got to do this to disarm or to disable this trap, and they make their rolls. You can circumstantially, as a GM or DM, award them experience for utilizing skills versus I'm just going to bash the chest into two. And so you give them 50 experience points, 75, 100. It adds up. And sometimes it's that little thing that one player, you ever have that player, well, you will have that player as a GM and DM because you're a beginner, that says, man, if I just had 50 more experience points, I would have made it. There you go. That's why I do things like that. And it does. Sometimes it puts other players ahead of other ones, but that's okay. So, understand how you do your experience points in here, because the experience points are very important, and the experience table is very important. Now, what they do in they have in the GM screen is it says challenge rating of the monster. So if you know your monster's CR, which usually is put in there for Pathfinder, you can see how many experience it suggests you award for that type of creature. And then it breaks it out for 1 to 2 players, 3 to 5 players, 3 to 4 players, 5 to 7, you know. And so you can go through and take a look at how many players are in the party, and then you can just go over there and you automatically have the experience to give the players. I love that. For me, that simplifies life. Now, some GMs and DMs just say, okay, you get 1 experience point per session, or 3, or 2 or 3. That's okay. I like that. I'm not a fan of it. I'm just not. I understand for Pathfinder Society, organized play, some systems where experience isn't as big of a deal. I get it. Okay? It's easier to work with. For me, I like the big experience. I just always have. Because you can do different things with it that you can't do if you just give them 1 point, half a point, something like that. It just doesn't work. It's not as good. Starting treasure. Where should you put the treasure? Well, it does some great things. So it talks about what kind of treasure do you want to do. Is it Are your players driven by magic items? Are they driven by unique and rare things? Are they driven by wealth? Are they driven by gold, actual spendable liquid wealth? You, the GM, can come up with, or DM, whatever it is, how you want to reward them. But I would find out for your players what their character wants. That's always important, and you can factor that into your play. Okay, so we talk about experience and awards. Now, don't over-award characters. I am not a believer in unproportioning treasures or just giving them whatever they want. I have a player that would love adamantine weapons every time he can get his hands on them. Adamantine's rare, number one. Number two, it is hard to work with and smelt. So that sky metal that comes down on asteroids called adamantine, you have to have some pretty damn high temperatures to melt the stuff and work with it. You have to have certain craftsmanship skills. Adamantine doesn't walk around the world in 50 different items per city. It just doesn't. It doesn't lend for it. You need volcano-style furnaces or hotter to work and smelt the metal, even to a usable form. And you have to have special tools to work it in its different heat temperatures and malleabilities. It's not easy, and it's expensive. It should be expensive. It's sky metal, okay? It's not something that you just hand to your players. Even mithril. Mithril is a silver, elven, light metal. Mithril is not the most common thing in the world. And mostly elves know how to work with it. Now, so do dwarves, because they're master craftspeople. Some humans might also know the arts too. But it's not the most common thing in the world. So don't be just handing your players stuff because they want it or you want to be in favor with them. Make it a challenge. Make it worth them getting their hands on. Make it hard for them to want to lose. The next thing I would say is when you're running a non-player character, so that's basically any personality that's in these, or that you come up with to run with the party or meet or help the party, or a monster, really give them life. It's going to take a little bit. I mean, some of us are not natural thespians or actors. I'm not asking you to be. But learn to try to be. It makes a session so much more fun when you take on the voice for a rough-sounding gentleman. Or you can talk the voice of a very beautiful woman if you want. It doesn't hurt my manhood to try to do a woman's voice. Or, okay, same sex. I like you. I really do. You're just a handsome man, aren't you? It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt me religion-wise. It doesn't hurt me my beliefs in life-wise. I'm a believer that I'm comfortable running whatever orients to an adventure. I'm a storyteller, okay? So as a storyteller, I'm not going to be uncomfortable with this. Now, I'm not going to tell you as a DM or GM, you have to do this, okay? That is up to you. You have your own comfortability level. You have your own sensibility level. You have your own ethos. I'm not going to tell you what's right or wrong for your ethos, okay? That's something you have to discover yourself as a DM or GM. All I can tell you is I love becoming the characters of the NPCs. I do. I love it. The more I can become a part of it. And if you've ever watched my sessions on Reign of Winter, you will see me doing this. And so many people love watching me do this. I didn't do this in my early years of GMing and DMing because I didn't have somebody to tell me to do that. You have someone right now telling you, do that. Because you're going to just jump ahead of the line of all the other DMs and GMs beginning if you just do these little things. It brings the story to life. Be animated. The volcano just bursts into flames, and you see the lava rolling down upon you. Versus the volcano erupts, and you see falling pumice and rock. Which brings you into the story more? You see the evil archer pull their arrow back and take aim at your heart and fire with a pluck of just amazing skill. Or he shoots an arrow at you. You have to think about your craft. And it's not easy, okay? I give you huge props to every one of you that wants to be a starting GM, DM. First of all, huge props that you want to even do it, okay? Second, huge props for the first session you run, good, bad, or indifferent, because that's a starting over the hurdle. From there, it's honing your craft. It's like working as a master bladesmith, how you hone your craft and get better at what you do. It is the same thing as DM and GM. It's the same thing in your jobs. Those of you that are bored of your jobs and go, oh my God, I hate my job. You haven't turned it into a craft and an art that you're honing your skills. Who cares if it's a beginning podunk job? Get good at what you do. Become a master or mistress of your craft. If you do this in your job, if you do this in your life, if you do this in your hobbies, if you do this in your GMing and DMing, you will enjoy what you do. It will no longer be a monotony or a chore. It will be what you love doing. That's the difference between someone who really masters life and someone who just exists. Those of you who are bored and sit around and do nothing and, oh yeah, maybe I should do this. My life sucks. It sucks because you don't take the initiative to make it different. You do control who you are and how you look at things. And again, sorry, life lesson coming out here, but it affects your DMing and GMing. How you live your life, how you are as a human being, how you approach life will be how you run a session. And whether it's memorable and lovable, or whether it's, oh my Lord, here they come again, I can't believe I'm still playing with this GM or DM. Okay? It's the difference. It really is. And so I want you guys to be great at what you do. I really do. Life is so much more enjoyable. I love being a dad. Okay? There are times that people go, my gosh, you've got 3 kids. How do you do 3? I love what I do. I love who I am. Okay, I'm not perfect. I got my flaws. I'm not the greatest GM in the world. I still get angry. I still have my moments. I still come out of it. I still sometimes make huge uber mistakes. But I love what I do. And that's the difference. And so love what you do as a GM or DM. That's the thing when you start out. Learn to love it. Learn to create with it. I will say this also with GMs and DMs. Have all your tools around you need. Mark your pages. Some people will take these books and they will put in little dividers with things they want to find on key pages. That's up to you. It depends on what you want to do to your books. I try to keep my books a little nicer in that way. I don't highlight in them. I don't do other things. But you know what? It's your book. It's your material. Do what makes it sense for you. If you're going to do this long term, highlight. Go through. Make things easy to find. But do me a favor. Don't overdo it. Because if you put in too many section things, you're going to be sitting there all day long in your session. You've got to know where to turn. You have to know where to go. So like a player told me the other day, I want to do Resilient Sphere. So while he's explaining what he's doing and I'm listening to him, I'm turning to Resilient Sphere. Why is that? Well, because I want to know what the spell does. Okay, so let's look at Resilient Sphere. What's important? It takes a standard action to cast. So here's the fun stuff you got to know. Casting time. Where does it come from? What type of effect does it have? How does it affect things? How far away does it go? Can they cast it? So Resilient Sphere, he has to keep it. Ooh. Well, he made a boo-boo, so I'm going to have to talk with him next session. So, see why it's important to know these things? Because unless he has an ability that allows him to do it, it's 25 plus 5 foot of level. So he's 10th level, so he can go 75 feet away. He cast it farther away back from that. Now, he could have dimension doored, and then the next round cast it. But that's the problem. Therein lies the problem. So I'm going to have to go back and tell him about that. But see, this is why it's important. I missed that in the session. I'm going to go back and make sure he knows about it. So maybe we pull things back. Maybe he's not standing in that room now. Important to note. And it's 1 minute a level, so that's really beautiful. So that means 50 minutes. Now, how many rounds are in a minute? 10. 500 rounds it lasts. Boy, isn't that nice for him. What does the resilient sphere do? It's like a wall of force. He can cast certain things out of it, but he can't cast like magic missile or lightning bolt or anything out of it. A wall of force, you're going to have to blast through that wall of force, and it'll light up and tell him where you are when you do it. So, he can cast charm spells and confusion spells and all kinds of other spells, which is what he likes to do. So, he's using the sphere properly. And that's where you as a GM have to go through and study that. And that's what I told him ahead. You know, it's like a wall of force. The nice thing is, somebody opens up with a spray of bullets on you, they got to go through the wall of force's amount of hit points of damage to get to you. And the hardness. So, G, not very likely in a round a machine gun's going to tear through that. In fact, most times the bullets might be bouncing other places in the room. Or just fall to the floor. Depends on how you want to be dramatic as a GM. Up to you. Okay? Wall of Fire. Another spell that's beautiful. One of the things my player pointed out, and I appreciate that they know their spells. Okay, so let's go to Wall of Fire. So I'm going to give you, this is kind of an example session, so I know it's going to run long, but it's important for you to know these kind of things. So look at Wall of Fire once again. Why is it important? Okay, let's look at the Wall of Fire. All right? So I showed you that. If you want to stop it, you can take a look. Wall of Fire, an evocation. So any kind of offensive spell is called an evocation. That's the school of magic it comes from. Standard, it takes a standard action. Again, standard attack round. So they can move and do the casting. All right? The components, always important to know because they need to have the components unless they have eschew materials. If they have that little feat called eschew materials, they can get up to 10 gold pieces of materials, no problem, out of the air. So, an opaque sheet of flame, now they can cast it at 100 feet plus 10 feet per level away. We got a 10th level, or 10th level cleric, so 200 feet away. Now, why does a cleric get to cast it? Because his deity, Saren Ray, gives him fire spells. Concentration plus run round a level. Okay, so let's look at this. Hang on, Bug. It's going to do that. Sorry, Bug. I'm trying to get that over there. There we go. All right. So, what it says, an immobile blazing curtain of shimmering violet fire springs into existence. One side of the wall, selected by you, sends forth waves of heat, dealing 2d4 damage to the creatures within 10 feet and 1d4 damage to anybody 10 feet or out. Okay? This wall deals this damage when it appears, and all creatures in the area of your turn each round. In addition, the wall deals 2d6 fire damage plus 1 per caster level to any creature passing through it. The wall deals double damage to undead creatures. If you evoke the wall so it appears where the creatures are, a creature takes damage as if passing through. So casting it on a creature, nice move. And it'll stay up as long as you concentrate. If you lose concentration, then it's one round a level. So if he quits concentrating on the wall of fire, it will only last 10 rounds. More than enough. If he concentrates on it, it lasts for however long he or she concentrates on it. So this is why it's important to get to know your PC spells. Even if you don't know them, take a quick look when they tell you what they're going to do. Say, hey, give me a second, just real quick. I want to relook this over to make sure I don't miss anything. It's okay to do that. Now, try not to do that with every spell because it gets tedious, but it's okay to do that because then you call out things. So what did our guy do? He cast it on the Russian troops. They had mortar rounds. Well, guess what mortar rounds are going to do in a very hot fire? They're going to cook off like they would in any fire. So you not only have the damage done by the wall, to these people. Then you have the rounds going off. Then you have the mortar shells exploding. So they do the damage as if they were being fired out of the launcher and go boom. So all these things going on, they basically did over 100 points of damage to these poor troops in the trench. Not meaning to, but they did. And so that's why it's important you as a GM or DM understand these kind of dynamics. And it just takes a little bit of studying to get to know them. So try to know those type of things. Now, also, what else do you need to know? And what else is important? Okay? It is important to understand advancement in XP versus the challenge of the encounter. Challenge of the encounter will determine how many you put against your characters. What I recommend is always have it to be about 1 to 2 levels or 3 levels toughness better than your player characters. So if they're 3rd level, you want a challenge of 6th level often against them. Why? Because it's more challenging. And it doesn't kill them off necessarily, but it provides that extra challenge that you need for them. Because otherwise they're going to walk to them like, they're butter. Okay, starting party, 1st level comes out, you put them against 10 skeletons. They're 5 of the party members. Nah. I would go 15 skeletons. Why? 3 per character. That's a challenge. That starts to push them a little bit. Because then they're starting to sweat a little bit. Okay, I got 3 skeletons coming after me. That means I could get hit 3 times in one round. That's scary. So then they focus in a little more. Do their weapons cause full damage? Against skeletons, sharp weapons don't do full damage. They just don't. Neither do arrows. What do you need? You need blunt weapons. So knowing the type of damage the weapon does, you as a GM can say, okay, that's not going to be enough. Know how the ability scores stack and the armor class things stack. Do certain things stack. So two rings of protection stack with a mage armor, and how do they stack? So knowing these kind of things are important. Certain things don't stack. They'll tell you, this does not stack with other things. And you can often go out to the threads on the website, the help sites, to tell you if something stacks or not. So read those things ahead of time as you help your players, so that way then they don't do spells. And I always tell them this, make sure your spells stack and work together, because they can cancel each other in some cases. Don't go casting, and then if I find out you've casted it wrong, then I told you, I've warned you. Make sure they stack. Because it's not our jobs as GMs and DMs to just nitpick our players about everything. They need to be smart enough. And if something doesn't make sense to you that they're doing, there's a reason. It's because they aren't doing it right. So trust your gut. If something tells you in your gut they're not doing something right, trust the fact they're not doing it right. All right, so that's it for beginning in GMing and DMing. I hope it helps you. Those are the basics things you got to know and work with. If you work with these things, you're going to get good at your craft. If you don't, you won't. Hi, Mini GM. What you looking for?
I'm looking for the white one.
The white what?
The white one from I did that before. Where'd you put it?
I don't know. I'll have to check. All right, guys, I'm out. Have a good week.